Yes?
Yes.
Everything is okay over there? Okay, so I just met Debbie in person today. I'm really pleased to know you, to meet you, Debbie. She's coming from Mallorca, but she's Irish, and we have a lot of things in common, Debbie. We love beer, for example, and coding. So. Ladies and gentlemen, Debbie O'Brien.
Thank you. Hi everyone. Just want to say this is an actually cool setup. So well done, Alicante. Okay, so leave your legacy code behind and go Nuxt. Who here has the pleasure of working with legacy code? Yeah. Who here enjoys working with legacy code? One person at the back. Oh, okay, poor you. Okay, so here we go. We have a problem. We all have problems, but we have a big problem. We basically have too much legacy code. It's hard to scale. Front and back end code is mixed together. And there's too many dependencies. We've got old tech stacks, JSF, PHP, ASP. Nothing wrong with them, but no. Front and back are just mixed together. It's just no. The code is unmaintainable. We've got things like this. I mean, come on, how are you meant to maintain this? The styles are, this is just like, no, I can't do this. And that basically gives us bad performance. Like, look at this. I'm not even going to tell you what company this is, but this is like a company that makes millions and millions and millions of euros. They have so much money, and all they care about is their search engine optimization. Their accessibility is not too bad, their best practices is not good, and their performance is terrible. And progressive web app, well, they just don't know what that is. And it gets better. These guys don't care that much about their search engine optimization. Their best practices are a bit better. Their accessibility, they couldn't care less. And their performance is getting worse. Again, another company that's making loads of money. And we get worse again. Like, it's just ridiculous. And I mean, if you go and do this test, this is the Lighthouse test, on your companies, maybe you might find the same, and then you'll go, oh my God, I didn't know our site was that bad. So yeah, look at this, the last one. These guys, again, they care about their search engine optimization, but their performance is just drastic. This is bad. We need to fix this. What are we doing about it? Nothing. Dumping more code on top of it. This is what we're doing. We're bloating the internet. What? Why? We've got no time, right? The company's got no money. They're making millions, but they've got no money to invest in their code. But really, we're just afraid to take the migration step, because it kind of looks like this. Scary, isn't it? It's like, oh my God, no way, I'm not going to migrate. No. What should we be doing? We should be migrating. Like this, nice and gently, together, peacefully and harmlessly. So where do we start? Piece by piece. You got to break up your project. And you got to create and ship. Don't just like, make a whole big massive site and migrate the whole thing. Break it up into little pieces and ship what you can. You've got to convince yourself that you can do it. And then you've got to convince your team. Then you can convince your boss. You've got to know your tools, what frameworks you've got, like Nuxt, for example. You've got to know what you're capable of. If you're not capable of it, learn it. And you've got to know what you can deliver. Don't tell your boss you're going to deliver this really fantastic new migration if you can't do it. So know what you can do. Run performance tests to compare. So if you've got like some sort of prototype, you can check and say, look, this is what you're going to get. This is what you have. This is the right road to go down. Create those prototypes to show them. But basically, just do it. It's your job to migrate. It's your job as a developer, so just do it. Basically, all you got to do is go Nuxt. Simple, right? So hi, my name is Debbie O'Brien. I'm a front-end tech lead at Patterson Agency in the beautiful island of Mallorca. I'm a mentor at Open Classrooms, a tech degree moderator at Treehouse. I contribute to Webpack, I contribute to Nuxt, I'm a writer at Ultimate Courses, and I'm a teacher at Vue School. The last 3 are actually very, very new. So you're going to have to look out for me from next month on Ultimate Courses and on Vue School. And I did my first contribution to Nuxt last week, so look out for more things on that. You can follow me at Debs_O'Brien. I'm always on Twitter, on LinkedIn as well. And of course, you're probably looking, going, oh my God, she does so much. But yeah, the first couple of things are kind of Reacty stuff, and then I'm going back into Vue, so like, you know, I'll be doing more Vue stuff from now on. But I do have a life. It's very important to have a life. And you know, no, it is, seriously. So I do go running. I don't always just have a computer on me. And I do go cycling, and I go skiing in the winter. And then I do things like, I'm a 4th-degree black belt in Taekwondo, so I go jumping in front of cathedrals, which is kind of cool. Thanks. So basically, Patterson Travel, a case study. So this is the client side that we're working on. It's a travel agency, and we basically had to migrate it. First thing we had to do was separate the front and back. So moving from working with mixed code to code separation between front and back. It's a challenge. How do front and back communicate? Through a JSON, right? So if you're going to migrate, be prepared for the JSON war. It can get nasty. You got to decide who is responsible for what. The header and footer. Front are going to now take over this because, you know, we can control the navigation. We don't need active classes in our JSON anymore. We can do this. So just let the back know what we can do and what needs to come from them, the content, the shopping cart, etc. And then basically just try not to fight over it. It's not worth it. You got to invest in your team. If you're migrating your code and your team are not knowing what they're working with, invest in them. You've got like some fantastic resources for learning Vue and Nuxt. You got Vue Mastery. You got Vue School. And both of these, the courses for Nuxt are actually done by the Nuxt brothers. So I mean, you know that you're going to learn it right. And you got Front-End Masters, where you've got Sarah Dressner and Evan Yu having courses there. So if you don't have accounts on these platforms, they're really, really cheap. I don't recommend one over the other. I think they're all fantastic. So make sure you invest in your team and get a license and get them all learning. You got to lead your code. You got to make sure your code looks like it was written by one person. If you're working with a team and you look at your code and you say, oh yeah, someone else did that and someone did that, that's bad. Your code's got to look like it was done by one person. So you got to create standards. ESLint. So you can create linters and you can create your own rules. This comes with Nuxt by default, but then you can just create extra rules like no console logs, no debuggers. Prettier is a great tool as well for making sure that your code looks like it was written by one person. And then StyleLint as well for your style. So people aren't writing like color blue and then you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do now? Color blue's everywhere, I've got to fix it. Okay, so just create standards. And then you've got pre-commit hooks. So things like Husky, where you can basically on every commit lint your files when they're staged and basically just check for any errors and make sure that they don't go into production. So then you've got no console log errors ever in production. Deadly, yes. Finally. Use pull requests. I absolutely love pull requests. We use them quite a lot in our company. People ask questions. These are actually real. This is me and my team. And we basically ask really, really cool questions. Like my team say, I don't understand why you deleted this. And he explains why. And I said, well, just read the Nuxt docs. That tells you why it works. So then they go ahead and they read this and they learn from it. We've got another one. Why are you doing this? Oh, yeah, you're right. That's this one. Or, for example, slots. Go and read the docs here. It explains it all here. So basically, use pull requests so that your team can actually learn. And what's very, very important if you're leading the code, make sure that your code is also being approved by your team. Not just because you think like, oh yeah, I know everything, I don't need somebody to review my code. They will find errors in your code for sure, but also they're going to learn from your code. Because if you're writing things good, they're going to look at it and go, oh, I didn't know I could do that, that's cool. So make sure everyone is properly doing pull requests and reviewing your code. You got to test your code. Should you write tests at the start, while coding, or when finished developing? I actually don't care. Just write tests. So test your code. You've got like Cypress. If you've never used Cypress, it's a very, very, very cool library. And it basically launches like a Chrome window. So it's an end-to-end user for testing. And basically, if I had had this last year when I was working with Treehouse and I had all these forms to fill out to test the students' code, it was like spending ages. I could have just wrote a test and then it would have filled in everything for me and it just would have checked. It would have been like, oh, would have saved like so much hours of testing people's code. So yeah, Cypress is brilliant. So if you haven't used it, check it out. And Jest is a great one for your user tests. You should document your code. If you're working as well with a large team, people have got to know what's going on. They've got to know what they're doing. I'm basically using VuePress. Yes, I'm using VuePress in a Nuxt app to create my documentation. And we've created this fantastic documentation. What VuePress gives me is a search out of the box. So basically it has all the search features, and I've got like a navigation on the side, and I basically just document everything, and then basically everyone knows what's going on in the code. Generate your files. So this is kind of really cool. We use Hygen, and we basically generate the code for, say, components. So we have, you write in basically new component, and I've called it base Debbie, just to be fun. And the blocks I'm going to choose are template, script, and style, and that's basically going to add to, for me, in the components folder, base Debbie, and as you can see, it's put like an underscore, and it's got a dash between the names, so that's configured right. And then inside that, I have my template set up so that like my style tag has lang equals SCSS, and it has scoped, where you could put modules. So that means your developer's not going to like forget to write the word scoped, because that happens quite a lot. And it's really, really quick to just generate your component or your page or your layout. So that's kind of a really cool tool. You got to think first, you got to code later. That's really, really important. Think and plan or draw before you write. Don't just like take a project and go, okay, yes, I'm going to start building. This is so cool. Yeah, just like think it out first. Create your own components. Like don't just dump big, massive, heavy libraries into your code when you don't need them. Build your own. For example, we built our own Dropdown Component. Dropdown Component's very simple. You've got like a little language thing, you press a button, and it just like drops down, and you've got like, 3 languages. Simple. So this is really simple. Don't go and try and find a library that does this for you. Try and think of, how can I actually build this? I'm going to show you if you don't know. It's very simple. This is your code here. The only thing you need is a vshow is open. So if it's open, then it shows. Simple. And the toggle method. Yeah, I've got 2 toggle methods because I'm toggling the drop-down arrow with the languages. And obviously, when I click the language, I also want the drop-down to close. That's it. That's all the code I need. And then basically, I create the data is open false at the start, because I don't want it to be open when I first open the web. And then a toggle method that says basically this is open is not equal to this is open. That's it. That's all you need to do. So don't go throwing a library in just to get a drop-down. You don't need Bootstrap just to get a drop-down. Accordion component. Okay, we're getting more complicated here, right? No, accordion components are actually really simple. You've got something like this, and when you open it, it's open to the right here because no more space. And basically the code is pretty simple. Again, you've got a vshow equals show, yeah? Simple. And you've got a toggle item. As you can see, I've called them different. You can call them whatever you want. And then basically I've just got some slots here for the title and for the content. And then basically, again, the data show is false at the start, but you could have it open. You might want all your accordions to be open, and you could just make that true. And then your toggle item, which basically says this.show is not equal to this.show. Simple, right? And then you can put that accordion in anywhere you want. Call your slot title, your slot content, and there you've got your accordion. Hero components. This was actually a bit complex for us because we have these fantastic hero components where the hello, we are Patterson Travel, the co-pilot of your brand's tip, this has to be a H1. And the rest of it has to be a span, but look like the same color. But for search engine optimization, the H1 cannot be too long, so we had to like make that a class. And then in another component, another page, we had the same component, but with a H1, and then it has a quote and an author. So we're kind of thinking, okay, how can we reuse this component, but it's very varied across many pages. We want to keep our styles the same. What do? Easy. You can just use name slots. So at named slots, you got a v-if. So if it's got a title, then I've got my slot title. If it's got a subtitle, if it's got a quote, or if it's got an author. Okay? Very easy to do. And then the only thing I need to do is in my base hero, I basically choose the slot I want. And this one, I want the title, the quote, and the author. That's all I'm going to get. So it's not going to give me the extra code that I don't need. And it's a really cool way of basically reusing your components. So for styles, use Tailwind. End of conversation. No, seriously, styles. You have to stop adding big libraries of styles that you never use. I have absolutely, well, I have nothing against UI libraries, but I don't like any of them. unfortunately. I've worked with them all, and they've just been a disaster. So unless someone's going to come up with this really cool library that's really lightweight, I haven't found the actual UI library that does that. So stop creating styles for everything. I've seen this as well, where we're just like style sheets everywhere. There's just millions and millions of styles. Think utilities first. This is what I would suggest. This is actually, again, a massive company. It's a big website, so they have a lot of code. That's okay. But if you just look at the stats of CSS, it's crazy, right? It's unmaintainable. Yet we have to maintain it. How do you maintain this? And like, just look here on the top corner, 1.18 megabytes of CSS. I mean, come on. Like, that's crazy. Yet that's reality. That's what we're working with these days. This is Air1, which I'm really proud of. Okay, we've got a lot less selectors. It is a smaller site, so obviously we can't do a full comparison. But, I mean, check this out. 16 KBs, right? That's easily maintainable. So basically for styles, utilities classes means that there's less code to maintain. So try and use utilities classes. A utility for a CSS framework is Tailwind. I don't know if you've ever heard of Tailwind or if you're using it. If you're not, you should check it out. They just released version 1, literally 3 weeks ago. It's been out for a couple of years, but version 1 is now live. And they've got some great documentation. It's really good. It's really strange at first because you start putting all these utilities in your HTML and you go, oh my God, no, this looks weird. But it's actually very good because if you have a class saying product card, you don't know what that is doing. You've got to go find those styles and see, ooh, is it a circle? Is it a square? Is it? Whereas if your utilities are margin MB4, margin bottom 4, for example, you can see exactly what it is from your HTML. So I've started working with it in the last couple of months, and now with all the performance tests we've done, I recommend Tailwind. Add a progressive web app. Okay, we've had a bit of a talk already about progressive web apps. I really recommend that you add them. All you got to do is take Kyle Simpson's course, and you can learn all about service workers for sites and progressive web apps. He's absolutely brilliant, and he has an absolutely amazing course, and that's what you got to do. You learn how they all work, and then you can have your progressive web app. Or you can just use Nuxt. Nuxt progressive web app. You get register a service worker for offline caching. It generates a manifest JSON file. It adds search engine optimization friendly metadata. And it generates different size app icons. Cool, right? But hang on, you know, this is going to take me ages to configure and set up, right? Yeah? That's what I thought. I was like, I'm going to put this off. I'll do it next week. And then I finally sat down and did it. It took me 5 minutes. I was like, oh, I should have known that earlier. I would have done it like months ago. This is what you got to do. Add a progressive web app in 3 steps. Number 1, yarn add nuxt.js/PWA. Number 2, in your modules, you just got to write that. Simple. And number 3, you got to upload the image to the static folder. That's it. And then you got a progressive web app. I think that deserves a round of applause from the Nuxt brothers because that's just brilliant. There is probably one little more thing you should do. You should put the SWF file in your git ignore so that doesn't go up there. But obviously that's just a minor thing. But that's all you've got to do. And yeah, it's cool. Also, just little tips. By default, the progressive web app name is equal to the package.json name. So if you don't want that, set it up in Nuxt to be merged with your meta. So basically, just write your meta name, you want the description and the author, etc. That's it. Then you've got your progressive web app. And I actually made the progressive web app for one of the talks because, you know, at conferences, the internet's normally rubbish. So I was like, oh, I was live coding and I needed to make sure the web worked. So I just created the progressive web app in case we had no internet. And I was checking out on the plane and it works perfect. So yeah, it's cool. So build static sites. Nuxt static sites are faster. And they act like a single page application due to the hydration process. So static site with single page application benefits. So you should all be going static sites. I'm like on a static site. Yes, go for it. Static site plus dynamic content. This is where it gets kind of tricky. A lot of people will ask me, yeah, but can we have both? Patterson Travel is a Nuxt generated static site. But we have a booking engine. The booking engine is not going to be static. Can we mix them? That is the question. Of course. See, we're using Nuxt. We can do everything. So how do we do it? You can use the noSSR component. Apparently there are many ways. This is the one that I was told to use. Okay, so all you got to do is use the noSSR component like this. So basically you have your template, you put your header component, and then you put the no SSO component, and the booking engine is wrapped in that, and then you've got your footer at the bottom. And I basically said to Sebastian, that's all I've got to do. And he says, welcome to Nuxt. So yeah, everything's possible. Okay, so you should run performance tests. You got to be aware of what you're shipping. Use the Webpack Analyzer. We've seen this already now in 2 talks, so seriously now you should all know what this is. Run an audit in Chrome DevTools, and check your CSS with CSS stats. So analyzing your bundle, this is what you get, okay? When you're running your code, you get this. It gives you all the information. Webpack is telling you everything, so actually read it. You got to look at it and say, okay, I've got my pages, conditions is like so big. What am I going to do about it? Okay, so it's telling you everything. So actually analyze it, read it. Don't just go, oh my God, yeah, so much stuff. No. Okay, we've had this tool as well. We've already spoke about it, and you've seen it. So this is the one for Patterson Travel, and we can see like, okay, our JSON file for our languages. Maybe we're putting too much stuff in there. We could probably take some stuff out. And view carousel, yeah. Do I really want that plugin or not? But basically we can see, so you can see your code and you can check all your pages and you can check, analyze the code and see what you're shipping. So use it. Webpack's great, does everything for you. Improve your code. Nuxt gives you code splitting by routes for free. But you have to code split your components. Webpack does all the hard work for you, okay? So you really don't have to do much. How does code splitting work? Okay, we've talked a little bit about code splitting. Code splitting works like this. I could explain it to you right now, how a browser module gets the, I could go through all this, but basically, if you want to know how this works, ask Sean Larkin. But basically, to code split your components, all you've got to do, just change this. Okay, this is what you're used to writing. Import your base hero from components base hero, and then you've got components base hero. All you got to do is change it from this to this. Simple. Components base hero, arrow function, import, components base hero. This is so simple to change, yet what we do is, oh yeah, I'll do that next week. Oh, I'll do that next week. Oh yeah, because it's not important. You should start code splitting. I would start code splitting your components because you're going to know what you're going to code split. You're going to code split like dropdowns. You're going to code split footer. You're not going to code split the header, so obviously don't start that way. But basically start by code splitting. And then if you've code split too much, you can always refactor that as well. But don't leave code splitting to the end and then you have like a massive app and then you go, oh my God, I should have code split it. Do it from the start. Make Sean happy. Lazy load your translation. So if you're using a translations plugin, you don't need to load all the translations up front. You're only going to need one. The user might never, ever, ever click the drop-down arrow to change the language. So don't load them all. And it's very simple. If you're using internationalization plugin, you just have your file, en.js, and then you just put lazy, true, and the language directory of where those files are, and that's it. Simple. Okay, that takes another 2 minutes, not even less. And then you've got lazy loaded translations. Lazy load your images. So this is a plugin. There's many different ones you can use, but this is the one I'm using, is yarn add vlazy image. You just add this into your plugin. Add it in your plugin, because that's all you got to do. And now you can basically use this for your images. I'm going to show you in the next slide how we then add this, but that's all you got to do to have lazy loading for your images. But you should use a CDN for your images as well. This is going to really, really help your performance. Here I'm using Cloudinary, and I've got, as you can see, vlazy image. So instead of image source, I've got vlazy image source because I've got that plugin installed. And Cloudinary is actually really cool because all my images are now up in Cloudinary's cloud. And I've got Q auto and F auto, which basically optimize my images for me automatically. So I don't have to fight with my designers anymore because I've got my images optimized by Cloudinary. And also it's going to give me the actual best performant, if it's going to be a JPEG or etc., depending on the browser that I'm using. So it does all that for me. So it's kind of really cool. If you haven't checked out Cloudinary, it's free for kind of small sites until you hit so many users, etc. And then obviously you got to pay, but well worth it. So check it out. It's cool. Improve your search engine optimization. So in your head tag, all you got to do, Nuxt helps you with search engine optimization, and you just put this in the head of every page with your title and your metadata. Fill it out, and then you've got excellent search engine optimization. You should put accessibility first. Use labels for forms. Use area tags. Be careful with color contrasts. and use your tools. Chrome DevTools actually now helps you for accessibility. So you can actually check out your code and you can see. We did not have very good scores for accessibility, and anyone who's been to my previous talks will have seen that the scores we had were not the same. And when Chrome released our latest version that you can actually check this out, we could see we had red for all our colors. And it was just gray. So I was like, come on, design team, just give me a different shade of gray. Like, it's not going to affect you, but it's going to help other people who have accessibility issues and cannot see those colors with the contrast. So now all our code is accessible. And that's kind of really, really important. So use the tools you have to be able to check those. Modern mode. We talked about the modern mode already today. You can build 2 versions of your app, the modern bundle that browsers that support ES modules, and the legacy bundle for those that don't, like Internet Explorer, that one day, hopefully, will disappear. But for now, it's still there. And all you've got to do is just put the -- modern or short -m if you want the shorter version, and then you get it. I really think this should just be there by default. Nuxt 3, yes, thank you. I hate having to put all these things in my code, Okay, so Nuxt 3, this is here, but until you get to Nuxt 3, just go and do it today, put it in your code. Be proud of your code. Really, really important. Today. This is our code here from Patterson Travel, and I know, eh? I'm really, really, really proud of my code. This is not just all my hard work. Nuxt makes this very easy for me to get, and basically, yes, our performance is at 99, which is killing me 1%. I'm like, oh no, I really want to get this. I'm going to work on it. I'm going to have it for my next talk, promise. I'm sure it's the fonts. Accessibility is 100. Best practice is 100. Search engine optimization is 100. And progressive web app is 100. So yeah, this deserves a round of applause, right? This is where you all should take a photograph and then tweet it to my boss, and then I get a pay rise. Okay, so this is what you should be aiming for. This is not just me showing off. This is actually me showing you that Nuxt can make this happen for you. This is a travel agency website. There's quite a lot of pages. There's 3 languages. There's images. There's a lot of stuff going on there. You can check out the site because it is live, patterson.travel, and you can see that you can achieve this with your code as well. You've really just got to try hard, work hard, and use Nuxt. So basically, what are you waiting for? Do you still have an excuse? Or are you going to leave your legacy code behind? Are you Nuxt? Thank you.
Oh, yes. Okay, thank you,
Thank you.
Debbie. Do you have any questions for Debbie? No? Okay.
It was clear, just use Nuxt. They've got it, just use Nuxt.
They are
That's it,
Nuxt,
you know.
So thank you very much.